a son for a son.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. I had a chance to see the first episode of House of the Dragon Season 2. This will be my non-spoilery review. I'll be doing regular videos for all the episodes this season, just like I did during Season 1 for the original show. Be sure to subscribe to get those if you're brand new to the channel. They will be starting very soon. Thankfully, you do not have to wait that much longer. It'll probably wind up being one of my biggest criticisms of the show, if it is a big criticism, the fact that it took so long to get Season 2 out. But it was great to finally go back to Westeros after that long break. And even though they made some creative changes to the show in the pacing and in some of the design, I'll talk about that in a second without getting into spoilers. Some of those will become immediately obvious the minute you click to watch episode 1. They have not lost a step. Season 2 starts out with an absolute banger of the most WTF material you have seen since the Red Wedding during the classic Game of Thrones show. In a series that's known for its epic, over-the-top violence gratuity, you'd think at some point they'd have a problem topping themselves, but nope, definitely not. Probably one of the other biggest criticisms from Season 1 that they address in Season 2 is the pacing in the time jumps. I didn't have as big of a problem with the time jumps that a lot of people had, like the changing actors mid-season. My biggest problem with Season 1 was in how quickly they blew through what felt like important plot, like why are you skipping all this big stuff? For example, really big thing, Season 2 introduces or reintroduces House Stark into the story in a much bigger way, like they're actual part of the story, instead of just being an Easter egg in the background like they were during Season 1. One of the most important houses in the original series, most fans coming into House of the Dragon, even if you're not a hardcore book fan, have been wondering when we see more from House Stark, like what are they doing right now? There was a lot of major stuff that happened to House Stark during the events of Season 1, and it all happens largely during the time jump that the show totally skips over. One of my biggest practical complaints, it isn't so much a complaint, but the show would have had no trouble going for like 7 seasons if they didn't totally skip out on all these major events that they sort of plotted out during Season 1, but then kind of yada skipped over. Like, why take the trouble to do all this backstory, then skip over all the really good stuff? I think the answer to that is that the show just really wanted to make a beeline for the red-hot dragon-on-dragon action that we'll see during Season 2. There were a lot more dragons during Season 1, but Season 2 takes that way beyond what you saw in Season 1. Don't worry, we'll get to that, but one of the other biggest creative changes that I mentioned earlier, biggest design changes, is they brought a brand new intro to the series, which is very different because during the original Game of Thrones series, even though they made slight changes with the intro season to season just to show you different areas of Westeros or different things that were happening in the changes they made to the map that they would pan across, it was largely the same intro through all 8 seasons. House of the Dragon Season 1 used the ancient Valyrian freehold as sort of like a map of the family tree with the blood flowing down, like the blood of ancient Valyria flowing down from Aegon the Conqueror to all the new members that were born into the family. It was a really cool visualization, but what they did for Season 2, they turned the intro into something that looks more like an actual tapestry hanging on a wall depicting the family tree. Because they said largely all the people that were born during this period have already been born since Season 1. The showrunner Ryan Condal specifically said they changed it because he didn't really know where to evolve the title sequence from after the final children that were born during this period were born. Like, you couldn't add more people, more lines of blood because you weren't seeing new people being born. So he said the reason for turning the title sequence in Season 2 into more of a tapestry was a way to continue to evolve the family tree, to show it in a more dynamic way, changing through episode to episode. We will see if this holds during Season 3. Like, it would be weird if they did a completely different title sequence during Season 3 and Season 4. But even though it is weird that they changed it, like you would expect from something on the level of the original Game of Thrones series or House of the Dragon Season 1, the production level is off the charts. Like, everybody is working at their highest level in every single department. Cannot say enough about Ramin Djawadi. His music is amazing. Like, it's still iconic from the original Game of Thrones series. Has not lost a step since House of the Dragon Season 1, but largely a lot of that music is carried over from Season 1. It's the same basic way they treated music during the original Game of Thrones series. Like, you have your basic core themes, but every new season they introduce a couple new theme songs based on what's going on in the new characters. Season 2, Episode 1 picks up about 10 days after the end of Season 1, Episode 10. Rhaenyra has not slept, driving herself mad with grief, looking for Lucerys' body, R.I.P. The rest of the Blacks on Dragonstone still reeling from the many different important deaths, because you also have to remember Viserys just died in the past 2 weeks as well. He dies at the end of episode 8. The next day, the Greens crown Aegon II to the Iron Throne. Then immediately after that, Lucerys is killed by Aemond and Vhagar. Then 10 days go by, and we have episode 1. So it hasn't even been 2 weeks since Viserys died. So you have a lot of people grieving for him specifically, then people learning about Lucerys, grieving for him, and everybody worried about this pending war because it hasn't actually started yet. Like, we're still in the moments right before the actual Dance of the Dragons begins. But you can feel when things pick up, everybody is just waiting with their breath held about what's going to happen next, and then the escalation from there, like how people react on both sides. But the story generally carries forward logically from the last moment that you saw these characters, especially the ones on Dragonstone, like on Rhaenyra's side. How are they going to retaliate knowing what happened to Lucerys? And that's largely what sets off the events in episode 1. Probably one of the MVPs of the episode is going to be Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra. Like, the way she portrays the character, the way she handles everything is amazing. Matt Smith also going to be one of the MVPs of the season. On the other side of things, though, at least during episode 1, Alicent and Rhaenyra no longer feeling the same warmth towards each other, but within the Greens, Alicent is at least one of the few trying to avoid war as much as possible. But you have to remember, this is just episode 1. There are a lot of people on the Green Council that just want to secure Aegon's rule over Westeros, and everybody's worried about what Rhaenyra is going to do once they learn what Aemond and Vhagar have done. Even though Otto Hightower, her father, seems like he's the person that orchestrated everything that's happened to now, like he's the person that had this whole plan to put Aegon on the throne, usurping Rhaenyra, he seems like he's still relatively cautious, but is trying to prepare Alicent that there might actually be a war. Whereas it feels like a lot of the other members of the Green Council are all over the map and just not really taking things that seriously at all, especially Aegon himself. Working hard or hardly working. There'll be a lot of comparisons to Joffrey with Aegon's character this season. The actor is amazing, but I wouldn't say he's nearly as sadistic or psychotic as Joffrey was. Given enough time, he could turn into that same kind of monster, and he does turn into kind of a monster, just not quite as extreme as Joffrey was during the original series. Aemond goes full Aemond. He's one of those characters, like Daemon, that you either love or you hate or you love to hate. There'll be a lot of talk about the two of them, Aemond and Daemon, this season being two sides of the same coin. And if you didn't realize, I talked about this a little bit during season 1, but Aemond is an anagram of Daemon. And you can feel the obsession that Aemond has with Daemon during episode 1. Like, it only gets worse from there, even though I haven't seen beyond episode 1. Generally, just looking at the trailer footage, you can see the way things progress. Aemond is a really interesting character in season 2, mostly in the way he leans into this whole persona that he's trying to create for himself is the most hated man in Westeros. Like, he craves that kind of negative attention from everyone. He loves to be feared, and he craves war in this obsessive kind of way. Whereas all the children, like the younger generation on the show right now, none of them have fought in any actual wars. They just grew up hearing of wars. A really good comparison to the original show, like all the younger generation on the original show, would be the fact that they're all summer children. Sweet summer child, you know nothing of winter because they were all born during the long summer. Same thing with the younger generation here. If you remember during season 1, Rhaenys actually joked about it too. Like, these younger people have no idea what actual war is. They will find out soon enough. Of all the new characters that we're going to see during Season 2, Cregan Stark probably the one I'm most excited about. Based on the stuff they're adapting from the books for Season 2, he's not going to be quite as big in Season 2 as he will be in future seasons. Like, House Stark is very active in the actual Dance of the Dragons, but mostly during the later part of the conflict. If you're a big fan of Jacaerys during Season 1, he didn't get that much story just because of all the different time jumps. He becomes a much bigger part of the story during Season 2. Just in general, Ryan Condal also said the show itself sort of shifts its focus to the younger generation of characters. And probably one of the biggest differences between this and the original show is that you really just have a bunch of people doing terrible things to each other. There are no clear heroes, no clear villains. Everybody is a terrible person doing terrible things. There are a couple big changes they make from the books, though, particularly in what some of the characters do. Like, they move some characters around and give story to some of the characters that didn't have it in the original book. Best example of that is probably Rhaenyra. In the books, Rhaenyra is actually portrayed as not really doing much of anything. Like, she spends most of her time at Dragonstone healing from her miscarriage that we saw during the events of Season 1. The show has changed that, though. She'll become much more active in the story. She might even eventually wind up fighting in some actual battles in later seasons. We will see. They also gave a bunch of extra story this season to Bela and Reyna. In the books, their characters aren't nearly as active in the actual conflict itself. There'll be a couple characters that people will love to hate, like if you absolutely hated Kristen Cole during Season 1, he is every bit the golden trash bag during Season 2. Like, you will hate him even more. I say that in a good way, though, because you're kind of supposed to hate his character. A lot of the really big stuff, like really WTF moments, can't really talk about till I do my full spoilery video when the episode is actually released, so a lot of that will just wait for that video. Generally just feels like Season 2 is going to be just as solid as Season 1 was. We will see how much they try to tie into the larger lore of like the prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire, Aegon the Conqueror's prophecy, now the White Walkers, the Night King. But in the way that Season 1 had a lot of Easter eggs and references to moments, characters, things that happened during the original Game of Thrones series, expect the same of Season 2. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. Please do not post spoilers. I'll do my full episode 1 video as soon as they release it. We will talk about everything during that video. Big reminder, the season is going to start very soon. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. If you have any special requests for bonus videos or characters or just things that are going on during this part of the timeline or pieces of lore, let me know and I'll try to add that to my future bonus videos. Click here for all my House of the Dragon Season 2 videos, and click here to learn why HBO canceled that Game of Thrones Jon Snow sequel series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.